Hi guys, in this video it follows on from the basic training we did last week. So if you've not seen that, click on the link below and watch that first. This is then some extra tips that we usually do a week or two after the basic training and go through some more ways to change your notification settings. We look at some more advanced ways that you can do some posts into Teams, and we look at the one thing that you can do to make your life with files loads easier, so stay tuned for that one. My name's Gavin Jones. I'm a transformation manager for Fortune 500 company, and all the tips we put on YouTube come out of real life examples. Got a new video coming out on Teams every Tuesday, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified every time I release a new video. And this video is accompanied by a slide deck. If you want that slide deck for use with training people in your organisation, or you just want all the tips we've got in one place written down, then click on the free download link in the description below. So let's get in and have a look at basic training part 2. Also should say apologies for the video in this one. I recorded the entire thing with the camera on my phone pointing the wrong way, so you won't see my head much in this one, just the screen, but I'll pop back up at the end. Okay, so in the main training we spent a bit of time going over how best to manage your notifications, which the first thing you want to do, rather than messing about the notification settings and turning channels on and off and other things on and off, is just to go and make sure you're showing the channels you want to get channel notifications from and hiding the ones you don't. This then is to be done after you've already done all that. If there's still too many notifications, then this will help you get those down. If you're still too many things or you're missing stuff, then that might be a conversation with your colleagues to say what you're going to use the channel for and what you're not, and whether you need another channel or not. But for right now, just going to go through some of the main settings that you'll want to look at straight away. So the first one we're going to go through is email notifications. So if you've been put into a team and you started using Teams, you might find you're getting loads of emails as well as Teams messages, which might be a bit overwhelming. So if you click on your account icon at the top with a little head and go to settings and then notifications, there's loads and loads of stuff you can personalize all the notifications in Teams. I would say ignore all of those and start off with this one in other, missed activity emails. So I don't know if it varies by tenant or if it's the same for every Teams when you're set up, but for our organisation at least, that defaulted to once every hour. And like I say, you were using Teams, even if you're fully on it, you're still getting loads of emails, because it should, in theory, if you've read the message in Teams, you don't get the email because it's once every hour. I think, there's some that you're missing. You've just not been in Teams for 10 minutes, or you want to do some other work, and then you've got a barrage of emails once you get back as well to sort through. So I've changed that to daily, even though we're fully in Teams now nearly every day. Still useful to have a daily one, just so that you're getting some stuff that you might have missed overnight delivered into your inbox. You can always just delete the email, but at least it's only one email a day. Especially useful if you're on holiday, it starts to sort of surface some big things you might have missed in the email. So good idea not to turn it off, but move it to daily. That's the best thing you can do to manage your email notifications. All the rest I've left as default because I don't want to miss anything, and there's some other ways you can hide your notifications and get away from them. So second way is that if you just want to get a bit of focused work done, same section in your account icon. Don't forget you can just reset your availability. So very similar to Skype, you can, when you click reset status, that will reset it to whatever's in your Outlook calendar. So if you've got a meeting in, it'll be busy. If you've not moved the mouse for a bit, it'll appear away, or away sort of setting, amber. If you're presenting, I think it's defaults to do not disturb, but you can put do not disturb on at any time. So if you want to do a bit of focused work, you can click on do not disturb. If your organisation's got My Analytics and you've got the focus plan, then that does put some focus time in your calendar for you and automatically moves on to Do Not Disturb. If you don't have that, you can still do it manually, and then nothing will ping up on screen. You can do some of the work and some deep work, and then just come and reset your status after you're finished doing that and ready to collaborate again. So that's tip number 2. Then by default, like we said in the last week's video, if you have shown a channel, it's visible in your list, then you'll get channel notifications. So if someone does testing, I'll get pinged about it. Any hidden channels, you don't get pinged. If someone did change management, I wouldn't get notified. If someone did integrations, I wouldn't get notified because they're hidden in my view. You can, though, have some tweak around with those defaults. So if I was doing lots of work in testing, but I didn't want to get pinged about lots of stuff in testing, I just wanted a quick way to get to it, I can then click those 3 dots, go into channel notifications, and then this is the default for any channel that's shown in your view, is that all new posts is off, which means you're going to get pinged every time anyone puts anything in that channel, whether they've mentioned the channel, mentioned you or not, or just nothing on there, or even if they've mentioned someone else, you're going to get pinged regardless. So I don't have a good use for that right now, but if there was a channel that was critical to your job, you might want to turn that on. We're talking about reducing notifications right now though, so probably want to leave that off. And channel mentions, you can then either just show in your feed, which means it's going to appear in your activity feed, and banner is whether it pops up on the screen and goes blink when you get a new message or not. So you can reduce it down and just show it in your feed, so you're not getting pinged about channel mentions, which might not be applicable to you if it's applicable to the whole channel. Or you can turn those off completely, which is the same as hiding it really, apart from you're still visible in your view. So I'm just going to go back and leave it and cancel. I've not bothered moving those around because you can still go and view any other channel just by clicking on it and see what's in there. If there was something in there I've not seen yet, even if it's hidden, when I click on the hidden channels, it will still go bold. So I've currently got no need for turning the notifications off other than hiding it, and that should be your first port of call. But if there was too many things going on, that's how to manage your channel notifications. More useful is what I've found, at least in our work, is that you can turn off threaded notifications. So like we said in last week's video, you want to keep things in thread, and you might end up with quite a long conversation thread, especially if we've noticed if it's like a recurring meeting or a weekly scorecard that comes out and it's the same file, because I guess now we've got versioning in SharePoint due to saving stuff into Teams. You can save over the top of the same file. That allows you to pin a file at the top and not change the link. But then you might have lots and lots of conversation about that same file because it's changing each week. If you've put a reply into a thread and someone replies beneath you, you're then always going to get pinged about replies to that thread. And if lots of people have replied and actually your interest in that has now gone, there wasn't, when Teams first came out, a way to get rid of those notifications very easily. Now, if you come into whichever thread is the problem child and click the 3 dots once you hover over it, and you can turn off notifications for that entire thread. So then if someone replies and I'm in that thread, I will now not get notified about that thread. So it's quite useful for just getting rid of all the notifications. It's a bit dangerous in that, I guess, if you've trained people that they don't need to mention you, if they reply and you're above them, then you might miss something then because they're assuming that you're getting notified about it, and they don't know you've turned off notifications, and actually you won't get notified unless they mention you or the channel again. But like I say, good way of getting rid of stuff if you're just getting too much noise. So moving on to ways to post things, just before I do, little bonus tip. One of the main things we see after training which I do not apologise for going over again, is that soon after training, so the first video that you were seeing last week, which I'll link in below, people spot the deliberate mistake here. Hi all, the file is saved in the Files tab. We see people doing that all the time, even after in-depth training, and going over all the reasons why you shouldn't do it. At least do the first bit. So there's two errors there. One, people saying hi all and not doing that mention. If it was reply, obviously you should reply. Don't need to, might not need to do that mention, but brand new post saying hi all, assume no one's going to see it, needs to do that mention, which we covered in the previous video. A new error then is that people are like announcing that there's a file there rather than just linking to the file. So it's like, oh, I've saved the file down. It's like, well, in every message, you should make it easy for the reader to get to whatever you are posting about. Why say there's a file there and leave them to go and find it, or even telling them where to go and find it. They need to then go, all right, files, yeah, you've told me to go to this folder. Okay, I found the thing. If you're linking one file in, remember you can edit or delete all your own posts. If you're linking a file in that's, or even multiple files, you can just go and share the link through the paperclip icon. Actually, we'll talk about 3 files, so cool. Go and select another one, share the link, and I was talking about this file. These are all the files that we've updated in this random scenario. Just link the files in there with the paperclip icon rather than telling them that it's saved in the Files tab. Just put them in the Files tab and then link them into your post so you can get to them straight away. If you're linking via the paperclip, that's the best way to link because you get a nice little box and an icon, and that'll always stay at the top of the conversation thread, so you can see that there's a file there that's exciting and people want to click on. And even though there's a big thread underneath, those files will still stay at the top. Remember, you don't want to link a text link in. This one's quite a big one. I left it. We've seen people write quite a long blurb and then put a text link at the bottom, and that see more that collapses has collapsed, that there's a file link there and people can't see the file. So people then it's like, oh, where's the file? I've missed it, blah, blah, blah. If you link it in properly and link it into where you're talking about the file rather than just saying it's saved somewhere, then that's the best thing you want to do so everyone can see that all the files there that you're talking about and they're visible and stay at the top of the thread. Okay, so 2 extra bits in terms of posting. So last time we covered the compose box, which pops you up a bit of extra space. We didn't go through them one by one, but we talked about most of the things you would recognise, like highlighting, bold, italic. I think we touched on the quote box, which makes a nice little grey area for you to type in a little quote, so it's sort of segregating your chat. Links is standard, so you can put in a text link and change the text so it looks a bit nicer, but don't do that for files. Do that in your paperclip icon, like I just mentioned. Put in some code stuff if you're in that line of work. Horizontal lines quite handy, so you can segregate your message a little bit if you've got any main point and then supporting info underneath. Table, as you would expect. As we get towards the end, one thing I wanted to cover was mark as important, which makes a big red banner in everyone's view, puts a big red important there. And if you post something important into a channel, that channel have a big red exclamation mark next to it as well. So really highlighting to everyone that there's something important in that channel, which might be very useful. By default, when you do the compose box pop-up, it's a new conversation, but you can now do an announcement. All the announcement does is literally that, gives you another headline. You still get the subheading, and you can type in whatever you want in there, and it just makes it a bit bigger, a bit more engaging. You can choose one of the nice little pastel colours I think that they've got going on in Teams, and it changes the text colour and the background for you. or you can upload a picture background, which is quite good if you've got any branding or anything you want for your company, and put a company announcement in, or even just Google an image and save it down and upload it to make a little background for your post. So that's quite nice. You can, if you did want to do Teams for like one-way pushes of information, you can mark conversation threads as no one can reply apart from moderators and yourself. Not find that much use for that, because we do use Teams for collaboration and we want people to engage with the posts and post-it replies. And then one thing that people are using, which I don't find particularly helpful actually, which I've covered in a previous video, but seem to be fitting to do it here as well, is posting in multiple channels. So you can post, say, in across teams and across channels, and it does exactly what it says in the tin. It's going to post that exact same thing in the testing channel and in the recaps channel. You can't put attachments into something that's posted across two channels because it doesn't know where to put the file. So that's one downside. You can @mention each channel, but it's not going to be clever enough to @mention. If I just put @channel, it won't @mention testing in the testing channel and @mention recapture in the recaps channel. You need to put both channels in if you want to @mention and post in multiple channels. And then what's not very useful, or I don't think it's very useful to post in multiple channels in the same team at least, is that you're splitting the thread immediately. So you've got the same post in two different channels, and people might reply in one channel and not see the other one, or vice versa. So you're not getting all the collaboration you could do. If you want to bring people in to see your message, you can @mention across different channels anyway, like I've just said. So even if I only put it in testing, I can still ping everyone that's shown recapture channel. So it's not useful in that regard. And if you've @mentioned both channels and someone's shown both of those channels, they get two notifications, one for the @mention in the testing channel and one for the @mention in recaps channel, which they wouldn't get with one post. If I did that, even though I've got two @mentions, someone would only get one notification. If I post in two or more channels and tag both those channels, then people will get pinged multiple times, which is quite annoying. We've seen it in real life. So I wouldn't do posting in multiple channels, although if you've got a one post across multiple teams, if it's like a organization-wide announcement you want to ping into everybody's team, that might be quite useful. We don't use that right now, but those are some of the options you've got in posting messages. And to finish, I promised to do the one best thing you can do for collaborating on files, and that's syncing your team with OneDrive. So at some point, it might have already happened in your tenant, I'm not sure, there'll be a sync button appearing at the top of this Files tab or any other Files tab when the view of files comes into alignment with how SharePoint shows files up. But for right now, you can still do the same thing. If you open that tab in SharePoint by clicking the Open in SharePoint list, and then however far down the document tree or the files tree you are, whatever you like to call it, the nested folders, wherever you click sync, you're going to sync that view and anything underneath it, any existing files and anything new that comes in. So if I only want to sync things in folder 1, because I was running out of space, say on my hard drive, I'd go down to folder 1, click sync, and you can do that for multiple folders in the same team. If you haven't got much in there, or if you're on Windows 10 with files on demand, come all the way back out to the top level of the team, so the document library, and click sync, and it's going to pop up whatever operating system you're using on, to say, do you want to switch to OneDrive? Say yes, and it's going to sync everything that's in your team into your Explorer window. Happens to use the OneDrive app, and there you go, you're now syncing recap core project team documents. So that means I can get all of my files then offline as well as use in Teams, and this has been the main thing that people love but don't really know how to do if they're not that tech savvy. And then what that means is you can go into your Explorer, and underneath your company icon here, you'll have a folder for any team that you've got any documents synced. And that means you can get access to all the documents that we were looking at in Teams via File Explorer. And then if I wanted to make sure they're saved offline in Windows 10, I can right-click them and always keep on this device. If I just double-click it, it's going to download it from the team, open in Excel, and it's still all on. If I'm online, it's still all co-authourable and editable, and if I'm offline, it's going to save it offline for me and then try and sync it back whenever I get back online straight away for me. Okay guys, so hope that was useful for you. Let us know your favourite tip in the comments below. If you liked it, give us a like. Remember to click the subscribe and the bell icon to get notified every time I release a new video, which is every Tuesday we release a video on Teams. Remember, if you want the deck with all the tips in one place to either train some other people in your organisation or just as a reference guide, click on the free download link in the description below. And remember, at MeeTime, we think there's a big opportunity for organisations to get better at running meetings. We've got a meeting timer in the iOS App Store called MeeTime, so search for that and check it out. We'd love to know your thoughts. Thanks for watching so far, and we'll see you in the next video.